Here's a sobering statistic. This statistic is one that I use usually to scare people into starting to strength train. The typical adult loses 3 to 5% of their total muscle mass per decade starting in their 30s. So by the time you're 70 years old, you've lost 20% of your total muscle. That sucks, right? Hi, I'm Dr. Ben Quist.
And I'm fitness expert Jeremiah Kruger.
And the clinical name for what we were just talking about is called sarcopenia, or age-related muscle wasting. So with the individuals that we've worked with over the course of the years at Formative Fitness, and we've worked with hundreds of different clients, one of the things that seems to really key in as being worrisome as people age is this loss of muscle tissue. And what that leads to and why it's so important is that causes frailty. So frailty would be defined as having 3 of the following 5 items: slow walking speed, exhaustion, low strength, losing 5% of your total body weight when you didn't intend to in a year, and...
Did we say weakness yet?
I thought I said weakness already.
Did we say low physical activity?
I think so.
Walking?
Well, you get the picture. If you're feeling frail, you're usually having a combination of several of these things. And that sucks, right? Yeah. No one wants to have that happen, and anything we can do to prevent that would be awesome. So what can we do about it? What do you think?
Steroids.
Okay, Jeremiah, I don't think our audience is going to be doing that. Give me another one.
What about Ensure?
Unfortunately, no matter what the marketing companies tell you, that sugary, refined sugar crap protein drink doesn't do anything to increase muscle mass.
Okay, well, what if we just up our protein intake even beyond what we're normally doing? Just an absurd amount of protein.
When you look at the research on protein consumption, large amounts of protein beyond what the person's normal need is also doesn't seem to help at all with muscle growth.
Okay, so what are we left with then?
Well, there is one thing that has 100% been borne out in the research and also just in our professional experience over the course of time, and that's good old-fashioned strength training. So wouldn't it be nice if you had a grouping of exercises, hand-selected, hand-curated for you by a physical therapist and fitness expert that would be geared to not losing muscle tissue as you age?
Unfortunately, we don't know anyone that could do that. You're going to have to watch a different video. All right, goodbye.
So what we have for you today is, we call it our Sarcopenia Six. So these are the 6 exercises that I typically use with my therapy patients or my clients to really dial in, focus them on the safest exercises they can pick that are giving the most bang for their buck to prevent that age-related muscle loss and strength loss.
All of which are fairly easy to do, and that you could have some movement limitations and still perform them effectively, but we're also going to give you a little bit of alternatives in case some of your movement limitations would not allow you to do some of these exercises.
So with the 6, when you do these exercises, you would warm up first, then you would do 3 sets of each exercise. So that means doing the exercise 3 times with a break of roughly 30 to 60 seconds between each set. The rep range that you're going to be doing these exercises in is 12 to 15 reps. And where I see most seniors making mistakes when they're strength training in the gym is they are not pushing themselves hard enough. They're not giving the appropriate amount of intensity to the exercises they are doing. So when you are doing the exercises, by the 13th, 14th, 15th rep, they should be getting very, very difficult and hard for you. The body will not respond to the stimulus unless it's intense enough. So going to failure with perfect form is required. Your rep range is 12 to 15. When you are selecting your weights, the rep range is also how you select the weights, because if you can't get 12 reps, the weight is too heavy. If you can get 12, 13, 14 reps and it's feeling pretty hard for you, the weight is probably about right. If you're able to do 15 reps and it's no sweat, it's super easy, the weight is too light and you need to raise that weight. All right, so you want to see what the 6 exercises are?
Let's do it.
Okay, for the first exercise in our Sarcopenia 6, it is the step up. And this is my favorite exercise for older adults because this is one of the areas that people as they age start to have problems with, stair climbing. And when you have a problem with stair climbing, it's a serious problem because if you fall down the stairs, that might be the last fall you ever take. So this exercise has a slight balance component to it and also strengthens up those legs. When you do the exercise, you want to set up your position so that you're at about 90 degrees at your knee joint. So that dictates the height of your step. So when doing the step up, depending on where your level is, you may want to start with something to assist you with your balance. So that could be 2 dowel rods or 2 ski poles. Drive up through your knee and then slowly control back down. All the exercises that we're going to show you today, except for the plank, have a 2 times 2 pacing. So it should take you roughly 1/1002 to get up to the top position, 1/1002 to get to the bottom position. If you can do this easily and it's not fatiguing and it's not challenging your balance at all, go down to 1 pull. If you can do it easily with 1 pull, then you can get rid of the pulls. Then you're doing it just with your body weight. As you get stronger, you can always add in things like dumbbells at the side to add that stimulus where it makes it tough for you to get the 15 reps. 1 set consists of the 15 reps on both legs. So you would alternate, opposite leg comes up, and you get your reps on that side as well.
All right, exercise number 2 here is the goblet squat or body weight squat. I'm going to show you 3 different levels of progression. Level number 1 is more of a sit to stand. So basically, if I'm sitting down on a chair or a toilet, I'm doing exactly that. Butt down on the object that I want to sit on, stand back up. This is level 1. If I find this easy enough, I can first start with lowering the box lower and lower, or at some point, maybe I don't feel like I need the box at all, and I now have the strength and stability to stop myself at my squat before coming back up. Our range of motion might look different. If you have the capacity to use a full big range of motion, always use what you have, but the goal is really to aiming for about 90 degrees at the knee and the hip. If you can get to this point, you got a pretty dang good squat. All right, that was level 1 and level 2. Level 3 is pretty simple. All it takes is adding some weight. If you feel like you're strong enough to start working with a heavier load in your squat, I would hold the dumbbell, kind of making a J with my thumb and pointer finger, right under the bottom of the dumbbell there. I want it vertical, parallel to my spine. It's gonna be right in the center of my body. I'm gonna squat with whatever range of motion I have, all the way down, all the way up. And again, our squats might look a little bit different, but ultimately the goal is bending the knees, bending the hips, lower down, and then push the ground away. That is your goblet squat.
Okay, ready for the 3rd exercise in our Sarcopenia 6? We're shifting up to the upper body now. We are doing a standing cable pull. You can do this with something like a rubber band by attaching it and doing the exercise with the band. You're gonna get more bang for your buck out of it if you actually use cable weight. With the plate weight, that is gonna apply a better stimulus for increasing muscle mass and strength than the rubber bands will. So if you have availability for a cable column wherever you work out, this is the best way to do this exercise. When you're setting up, you're gonna come backwards, you're gonna stagger your stance. And one of the things of why we included this one in the Sarcopenia 6 is because you do have to stabilize in a standing position. That has extra benefit for you in core strengthening, in addition to strengthening your back muscles and your arms with the pull. So that's why this is selected versus like a seated row or something of that nature. You're gonna lean back, and then you're gonna pull straight back into your body. Again, it's that 2 times 2 pacing. So 1/1002, 1/1002. And then one of the most important things when you're rowing is number 1, that once you get to the back part of the motion, that you actually squeeze your shoulder blades together. And then number 2 is that as you're pulling, you don't elevate at all. That's one of the mistakes I see people make many times, where they start to pull those shoulders up as they're rowing. Those shoulders stay down the entire time you're rowing and pulling through the movement pattern.
All right, y'all. Exercise number 4 is a push-up. We're gonna show you different levels of progression. The main way to modify this is by the level of incline. The higher the incline, meaning the more vertical I am, the easier this is gonna be. The more horizontal I get, the more challenging it's gonna be. One of the safest ways to do this would be with a barbell. That barbell is not going anywhere as long as you have it on the guards. And I can modify by lowering the level of the bar, making it more and more challenging. I can measure what number I'm at. I'm at 7 today. Maybe my goal in 3 weeks is to move it down to 5, something like that. So for your push-up, same rules apply for the row with the shoulders, where we want them down and back, and we want to make sure we're not shrugging. That is the main thing. So as I go down in my push-up, I'm going to lower my chest down to the bar and press back up. Hand width can be modified a few different ways. The general rule of thumb is you want your thumb about in line with your shoulder. That way at the bottom, my shoulders are as close to my thumbs as I can get them, and then I'll press back up. For example, if I want to make this more challenging, I could also lower the bar, or I could find an object that is already lower. I might move down to the bench. Now I'm a little bit more horizontal. The same fundamentals apply. Get as low as I can before pressing back up. Now, one safety thing for everybody is if you need to save yourself and you're about to fall and collapse, rather than just dropping, what you can do is step forward into a lunge and catch yourself. That is an important thing to know. All right, so the obvious final progression here is just a standard push-up from the ground. 2 ways to do it. Option 1 is with my knees up, regular form, down and forward, up and backward, making a slight arc motion with my head. And then option number 2 is dropping down to your knees. If you want to get real specific and real good at push-ups, my suggestion would be down from your feet, up from your knees. That's a really good way to improve your push-up.
Okay, so exercise number 5, and our final exercise for legs in the Sarcopenia 6 is the leg press. Now, the reason that we selected the leg press is it is one of the safest ways to really apply a very, very heavy load to the leg musculature. Obviously, every leg press machine in different gyms across the country are different, so I'm gonna give you some general guidelines as far as how you would set up a leg press. You basically wanna set, and if it's the plate that moves or the back that moves or both, you wanna set up a position that you're at roughly a 90-degree or maybe a smidge lower at the bottom point of your movement pattern. So I probably need to be a little bit deeper into my movement. So now you can see I'm a teeny bit below a 90-degree. Then from that position, you're going to press up into the top of your leg press. At the top of the movement pattern, you want to make sure not to fully extend your knees or kind of bounce into your knee joint. So we want to keep a nice soft knee at that top position. Pacing rules still apply, so it's a 2-second up, 2-second down, and you want to complete your 15 repetitions. If the 15 reps was easy, just like before with everything else, you bump that weight up.
All right, y'all, here's the final exercise in the Sarcopenia 6. It's a little different from the bunch in that it's isometric, no movement is involved, but it's still hugely valuable, and we picked this one for a reason, largely because of the scalability of it. We can change up how difficult it is for us, and it's really important to have a strong core. A whole lot of other reasons, but let's just hop into the nuts and bolts of it. If you have a railing at home or a countertop and it's about rib height, that might be a good starting point. You might be able to start even down a little bit lower, but in general, the rule of thumb here is going to be, I want to create a straight line from my hand across to my shoulders. I want to try to make sure that I'm not flaring my ribs one way or the other. I want a straight line from my hip up to my shoulder, and rep range is going to be time-based for this one. So at the bottom, maybe it's 30 seconds, and at the top, maybe it's 90 seconds. If you can hold this position for more than 90 seconds, it's probably not challenging enough for you anymore. So you might grab something that's a little bit lower and scale that way. Or at some point, maybe I've scaled this and my head's gonna bonk and I gotta move somewhere different, so we move to the floor. From the floor, there's a few different ways you can vary it. Option number 1 is either from the hand or from the elbow. I'm gonna have my bottom leg bent and I'm gonna raise my hips off the ground. This creates a little bit shorter lever. It's a little bit less challenging than it would be if I move to level number 2 here, where my hips are fully elevated. I got a straight line from my foot all the way up to my head. If you can hold this for 90 seconds, you're pretty superhuman, so you should be proud of that. This is a very difficult thing to do. Obviously, whatever time frame I do on this side, I wanna match on the other side. Being that this is single-sided, I would always suggest doing your non-dominant or weaker side first. If I can only get 60 seconds there, and then my strong side's capable of doing 90, I'm still gonna stop at 60 to try to get a balanced symmetry in my strength.
Okay, folks, so that's a wrap. Wait, it's not a wrap.
It's not a wrap.
It's not a wrap.
A few more things.
We got one more thing for you. So in looking at the different things you can do to prevent muscle wasting, there are a few things that may be helpful beyond just strength training. One of the supplements that pops up in the research a lot with strength and aging is creatine monohydrate. From my own personal perspective as someone who's taken creatine for 3 decades now, it's a fantastic supplement. I have my 80-year-old mom on it, but I think it only does benefit, and it can help. Obviously, it increases strength, so it makes sense that it would also increase muscle mass.
Yes.
Right?
Definitely.
Right. Oh, right.
We'll
Okay.
add to that a little bit here. Muscle wasting is the opposite of muscle building. So the ideology is you also want to live in a way that is causing muscle building, meaning you might benefit from having a little bit of a calorie surplus when you eat, not to an extreme extent. You still want to have all the other principles of healthy living where we're having exercise consistently, we're sleeping good, potentially you try saunas. There's a bunch of other things that you don't want to stop doing as well.
And the final one that I thought was really interesting in kind of researching for this video, a diet that is anti-inflammatory is also something that could be helpful for muscle growth. And certainly a diet that is inflammatory does cause muscle wasting to be more extreme. And they've done some looking at that. So
What's an inflammatory diet? How can we avoid that?
So it's interesting. If you look up the inflammatory index of food, it's just a simple scientific thing where they've measured how much inflammation is caused from different food types. You obviously don't want to eat anything on the high end of the inflammation scale. You want to eat a lot of stuff from the lower end. So it's pretty easy to incorporate. And all those foods are really healthy for you anyways. All right, well, that's a wrap. Is that a wrap?
That's
a wrap.
now. It's a wrap.
Is that a wrap?
Have a good day, y'all.
Okay, bye.
All right, so before we totally wrap up here, you probably want to know how frequently you should be doing this. Well, if you're doing nothing right now, 1 time a week is shockingly impactful. But this is a full body workout, so it's not something you necessarily want to do every single day, especially if you're training at the intensity we would like you to. So I would say the maximum would be 3 times a week. And it'd be great if you could have a day off in between. So a Monday, Wednesday, Friday split, or a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, something like that would be hugely beneficial. 3 times a week.